to you, or Karen's got them for that matter.
Oh, she does? Oh, okay.
What do I have?
Got everybody.
Can you see this?
I can see it.
You want to just do it from your machine?
Yeah.
So you can see it?
I mean, we can all do it from our machine, is that what you're saying?
What's a webcam?
Oh, we can do that. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Okay, he doesn't love us anymore.
No, like, I just don't know how you're gonna watch it.
They're going back to their offices to get on the webinar.
Okay.
They were gonna try and do it in my office, and it's, you know, they're like 10 feet from the screen, so.
Gotcha.
So I've got this pretty neat little tool I read about. I've tried it a couple times for training, and it's $100 a year. Yeah, it's web-based. You can also download a little app into the machine, but it records your mouse strokes, records the screen, the mouse strokes, as well as the audio.
Oh, really?
And it works awesome. So I'm trying to see if it works on this webinar. I don't see why it won't. It should pick up your voice.
Yeah, hopefully. This will record, but I'm pretty sure it will record the keystrokes. I guess it's basically audio. I'm gonna wind up sending you guys written instructions on how to do everything we're gonna go through anyways.
Okay.
So it's not like, there's very few things you're gonna need to write down when, if we run into stuff today, tell you to make note of it. But otherwise, like I said, I'm gonna send you a series of documents that's basically gonna cover everything we're gonna do.
All right.
Makes it easier on everybody.
We're here.
Hello.
Okay, we got everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Each of you has this application on your desktop. It's basically called Securities Pro Station. This is what we refer to as the front end. This is where all the information is kept, shows all the transactions, adjustments, that kind of thing. Right now, I think, Don, you're the only one set up in here. So also set up a retention number, which is basically a house number. And the way that is the payout that's sped up is going to have part of this on there. Do you guys hear me okay? I heard an echo.
I heard.
Okay. So every time we set up a rep with a payout, this is, by the way, what you're looking at is my desktop. This is a test database I use. So we just set you up as having a 75% payout, not knowing what it was going to be, and then the reciprocal of that's going to be what the house has. So this IFG number is going to basically be used to track everything that the BD is going to keep.
Okay.
Okay, what you're going to do, and this next application I'm going to open is only on Karen and Laura's machines. This is the import where you're going to import the account data and the trade data. And again, I'm going to send you step-by-step instructions on how to do this. We're going to go ahead and do it during this session here so you can see what's going on, but you don't have to worry about making notes. When you import the account sheet, you check this box, click the name, locate where the sheet is, double click it, click import. You'll see it start to tick like that. When it's done, it's going to tell you it's complete, and then you can move on to the trade sheet. Now, how often can you download these, Don? Is it once a month or twice a month? Or?
Twice a month is when they're paid out.
Okay. You're always going to want to import the client sheet first, the latest client sheet, because that's going to get all the clients in here. When you import the trade sheet, if there's any clients missing or reps missing, in other words, if we see transactions in there and the rep number's not in the system, it's going to kick out a sheet. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. To import the trade sheet, click Trade, locate the sheet, Double click on it now. You have to come down here and put in a date. This date's going to basically determine where this is going to go. Inside of the system, there's a series of commission periods set up. So this is, we only have them set up, I think, through the first one of this year so far, but we'll go ahead and change them on your server. These are basically the start and the end dates. So this is going to be the LPL stuff. So from 10/8 to 10/25 is going to be this commission period, and 10/26 to 11/8, et cetera, et cetera. Now I did this based on the information you gave me, and I only have information through, looks like the beginning of January. So I'm going to need to get you to provide me your new commission period start from January forward.
Okay.
And I'll put them in there. So the date you're going to use in this import is going to be a date that's going to fall in between start and the end to put it in the right period. So I'm importing an old sheet that I've got. So. Now, this smooth trades button, let me explain what this is. What you have is exactly what Stratos has, the identical setup. What they do on some of the sheets, I think, like you, they get 2 of them each month. They get a smaller one and a larger one. That's basically the only way I can explain it. I'm not sure which one comes first. The larger one, they do what they call smoothing the trades, which basically means any commissions in there are, if you click the smooth trades button, what it's going to do is it's going to take any commission amount. If somebody's owed $100 commission on a particular transaction, it's going to divide it by 3 and spread it over the next 3 months. If that's not something that you ever need to do or want to do, just ignore it.
Okay.
All right, when you click import, you're going to get a prompt that says validate trade file. The first time you import the sheet, each time, you want to click yes on this. And again, this will be in the instructions I sent you. What this does is goes in there and compares the rep numbers on the transactions and the account numbers that were imported, and it looks in the system over here and makes sure that they're in here. If they're not, there'll be a exception sheet generated that'll basically tell you what's missing. All right, now that we've done that, and it tells you right, it'll tell you here where the sheet's going to be saved on your PC. So if I go to that location, you're not going to have all the junk in here I've got. This is the spreadsheet that was generated. What this tells you is what's missing. So when the account numbers were imported and the rep numbers were imported, these account numbers, and you see this one's repeated over and over. This is for each transaction that's in here. So this is all one account, there's another one, et cetera, et cetera. And this rep number on the commission sheet we imported, this rep number was listed in there, but it's not set up in the system yet. So in some of the sheets I'm going to send, some of the instructions I'm going to send you, what it basically says is the first thing you need to do before you import the sheet is input any new rep numbers that you've got since the last time you did it. You shouldn't have to import any account numbers. The account numbers should be in the spreadsheets that you're getting from LPL that will be imported. So if you're missing something, once you generate that, you go and pull this sheet up and you look at it, and it's telling you rep 287G is not in there. So you need to go back and put him in there in the system. And the way you do that is if you need to add a new rep number, you click on the name and address tab. Let me back up. You see what I'm doing. The system's broken up into different sections. The first section is the rep section. There's 3 pieces to it. You go to the one that says rep main information, which is the middle one. You click new. Input the rep number, the type of rep that it is, regular or branch manager. You're rarely going to be setting up house numbers, so it's probably going to be one of these 2 almost every time. Regular rep number or a joint rep number, which would be split amongst a couple of different 2, 3, 4 reps, however you want to do it. And then regular number, you're not going to have any RNA numbers for the time being, so it's pretty, normally if you're setting up a regular number, it's going to be regular all 3 ways down. input the name. Hit add. It's going to ask you if the illustrator manager is already set up. Hit yes. And then you basically just go into here and start inputting information. When you get to the office address, I think we've only got one branch set up now, but as you add advisors, you will need to add branches. So if you click on this, it'll just populate all this stuff. You need to input a hire date. You could use a tab key to go back and forth. You need a social. That's pretty much all that's required. You hit save. If you try to go to the next tab without saving, it's going to prompt you and say, do you want to save your changes?
Okay.
Then you just go through here. And again, I'm going to send you stuff that shows you how to do this, so you don't have to really worry about taking notes right now. You set up the revenue type, which is commission. You assign the branch manager. I think you're the only one we've got in here so far. You set up who's going to be paid. Now, I would think 9 times out of 10, the rep's going to pay himself, but you could have a scenario where he pays somebody else if you want to do that. Designate a payee address.
Now, did you say that we can ACH?
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to set up what's called a pre-note file that you can send to your bank, but yes, the system's capable of generating the information. Payouts, you can set these up. I'm not going to go through this yet because unless you're going to set up a rep right now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And by the way, we can do other training sessions as needed as we go here.
Well, we have about 6 new reps to input, and several of them are in separate branches.
Okay. I can show you how to do it now if you want.
Fire away.
All right. First thing, what we just did is basically set up a rep. And by the way, everything in here, I think the version doesn't have help. Bear with me a second.
So you've got a help index, is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
I just clicked on it. In this version, it's not in there, so I need to copy a file over.
All right.
Find one split. Okay, everything is in online help. This is basically the manual for the system. So if you want to know how to enter a new rep, you go to Stations, Rep. It'll basically tell you new rep, and this will tell you step by step. Well, basically what we just went through.
Okay.
All right, to add a new branch. And by the way, before you set up the reps, you always want to set up all the branches first. So you go into the first section that says branch. Click on, when you see a screen like this, it looks like it's blank or gray. It's basically telling you need to go up here and hit the new key, the new button.
Okay.
The 2 function keys you need to be familiar with up here is new and save. Okay. When you get down here to where it says branch code, you see how these are in red versus most of the other fields are in black like this?
Mm-hmm.
You see a red field, put your cursor in the field. Now this is the one thing you want to write down. When you see one of these red fields, hit Control and the L key on your keyboard at the same time. It'll bring up a secondary window. It works the same way throughout the system. So anytime you see something in red, you do the exact same thing. Hit Control L. You go in here and hit Add. name the office. By the way, this could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, the branch code, if you want to use a number or a city or whatever, you can put that in here. And then the description can be something else. So if you want to put in 1234 and then put in, Roswell office or something like that, you can do it that. So this can be done literally however you want to do it. When you pull reports in this system, a lot of them are going to pull by branch code. So if you're going to use something here, make it something, recognizable or noticeable to you. When you're done, hit save, and then the branch will be listed. So you want to go set all these up first. And by the way, if you go to online help, stations, rep, new branch, this will tell you all the steps that you basically need to do. So set up your 6 branches first. Then when you're done, and by the way, like I said before, if you try to click off this after you've made a change, it's always going to ask you if you want to save your changes. Then next, you're going to go input the rep. Now, if there's a group of individual advisors, and there's one of them that you're going to consider a branch manager, put the branch manager in first, then put the reps in afterwards. So the order is going to be branch office, branch manager, and then rep number.
Okay.
And when I assume Karen, Laura, whoever's going to be doing this, when you do this, we can do a quick one of these if you want, and I can walk you through this again. Today, what I want to kind of do is give you a general, this is what you're going to be doing, this is sort of how the system works type thing. When you get into specifics, if you want to, start doing them as quick as tomorrow, I can, do a little quick session with you if you need to. Okay. Now that we've validated the trade files, so we've basically gone in and it's, found the exceptions, and you saw the Excel spreadsheet before that told you what's missing. Now you're ready to actually import it, assuming you've gone back and you've input all the reps. So same process. Put in the date that you want the period to fall in. Hit import. The second time you do it, after you run the validation, you say validate trade file no. You'll see it start to import records. When it's done, it'll tell you it's complete. You'll get your cursor back to normal. They'll also have a total commission amount over here, any ticket charges, and any adjustments. Not that it's really that terribly important, because once you go in the system, you'll be able to see these numbers again, but it kind of gives you a quick reference. All right, once you're done importing the sheet, that's it. You close this out. Next step, immediately what you want to do is open processing, and again, only Karen and Laura have these. And the information I'm going to send you is going to tell you what order to do all this stuff in again. You open up processing. Go to processing stations daily. All these will be checked automatically. Just hit start process. It's going to say, do you want to start? Hit yes. Let it run. This is only going to take a minute or two, literally. And what this is doing, by the way, is it's taking the information that was imported. When the sheet's imported, it's basically going to have the rep on it, who the client is, how much the commission is, principal amounts, all that kind of stuff. During this processing here, what the system's doing is it's looking at that information, it's going over and looking at the rep that's set up in the system and saying, okay, the payout's 75%, it's paying a 10% override to somebody else, and it goes and does all the calculations. When this is finished, it'll tell you it's complete. You get your cursor back, it'll tell you on the bottom, processing complete. Close it out. You go into the front end of the system, and you can see the transactions. Now, I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. We'll go through all these different sections, and before the session's over. But Once you've imported the transactions, you go up to where it says All Orders. Open it up. A search window is going to pop up. The easiest way to search, instead of trying to use dates, start dates, and trade dates, and all that kind of stuff, is use the commission period. So what we just imported was a commission period 1320. Input that. The second one will default. Hit search. It's going to pull all the transactions up. As we go through here, this is basically, there's an order ID on each transaction. This is something that the system assigns. It's a unique ID number. So in case there's a problem or question or something like that, if you have an issue on a trade or you have a question about a trade, when you email us, always try and use the order ID because that tells us what it is instead of us having to go search for commission amounts, client and account numbers, and all that kind of stuff. Once you're in this search window, you've got several different options. You'll see at the bottom, it'll tell you how many transactions, total commission amount, total principal amount. If you scroll across, it'll show you ticket charges, if there are any. You can, from here, you can double click on the transaction or you can hit select. It'll take you to the trade itself. You can use these little green arrows to scroll through. You see it tells you how many records there are, record 2 of 192. Honestly, what I prefer instead of these, if you put your cursor down here in the notes field, you can use the up and down arrows on your keyboard. So you can scroll through the trades and look at them if you want, or what most people do is if you want to save information or something like that, like I said, you can go in here and you can look at it in here, but it's a little cumbersome because you're having to scroll from one trade back to the next trade. If you go up here and you go down to where it says Save As, you can save this as an Excel spreadsheet. So select Excel with headers, name it. Obviously, pay attention to where you're saving it. And then when you open it, all the data that's in the system, and actually there's a lot more in here than there is in the search screen, is going to be listed in here. So from here, you can, move things around, sort them, whatever you want to do with them. And by the way, that Save As function is consistent throughout the system. Any search window like this will have it, and almost every report will have it. So you can say, if you want to save a report as Excel or PDF or Word or whatever the case may be, you've got the options to do that. Okay. This is basically going to give you a description. So you're going to see, we're pulling this in from the sheet. What you're going to see on here is the product type, the payout category. Let me explain this. Okay, inside the system, we use two different product identifiers. Product type is the main category, like stock, bond, asset management, mutual fund, that kind of thing. This is what we have set up for you now. And again, we basically what Stratos uses, and then it doesn't mean we can't. We can certainly change it around to suit anything you need. If you need to add a different type of product, we can do that. Payout categories are the minor categories. So if you've got, if you want to break bonds out between munis and governments and that kind of thing, you can do that. It's just kind of, it's based on your choice or how you want to see data broken down. Most of the reports that we'll pull, some reports pull from product type, some pull from payout categories. What's listed on the advisor commission statements, I believe, is product type. We'll take a look at those in a minute. If you need to add a new one, a new product type, you can do that. What I'd suggest, payout category, rather, what I'd suggest the first time around, send us an email, give us a call, tell us what you want to do. So we're sure it's set up correctly to begin with, but I mean, you've got the ability to do these on your own. Okay, now that all the data is in here, go and look at the commission statement. There's a couple different ways you can do this. When the daily processing function is run, you're going to run after that commission sheet is imported every time. When it's time to pay your advisors, there's a secondary processing function that's going to run. And again, I'll send you instructions on how to do it. But that basically takes everything and finalizes it. And when this function runs, it will create, there's two pieces to it. There's a pre-processed commissions piece, which basically allows you to run this, generate reports, check registers, that kind of thing, that you can look at. And when you're satisfied everything is, the way it's supposed to be, you run a final processing. When you run this final processing, it closes the period out. You can't reopen it. We can if we have to. But it's, again, I'm going to send you instructions on how and when to do this. And the first time, when you start using this, the first time you're ready to use these numbers to pay your advisors, I'll walk you through all this again. Okay, if you want to view a commission statement, this is a little confusing to people at first. You just got to get the hang of it. Your periods are monthly. So the first thing you do is you click monthly. It'll populate this with the commission periods. It's going to default to the current period. You then got a couple of choices. You can go over here and you can look up either rep number, you can use branch number, last name. The other thing you can do, and you should be fine with this until you start getting a couple hundred reps in here. If you hit, and this you want to write down because this isn't listed anywhere. If you hit the space bar twice after you put your cursor in here, it'll pull up everybody. This is an older database I've got, so there's a glitch in it. This tab will basically show you, this is a period summary. It's going to basically show you the product type, gross commission amounts, any ticket charges, and a net payable, or what the advisor would basically wind up with. If you click on the period detail tab, this is the detail for every single transaction. If you want more information, this is basically what we looked at over here in the order station. You can double click on it and it'll give you all the details. What type of product it was, commission amount, any ticket charge associated with it, client short name, client account number, all that kind of stuff. If you go to the tab that says commission statement, I've got dual screens here, so stuff pops up like that sometimes. It'll open the actual statement. So this is basically your statement. It's going to show you the period that it was done for, the advisor name, rep number, location. There's always a summary on the first page. This beginning balance forward, unless you designated that you wanted a minimum commission amount before a check's generated, which you didn't. Yeah, okay. The beginning balance forward is always going to be zero, basically. It's going to show net commissions minus any adjustments that were generated, which in this case, your swim fees are going to be listed as adjustments. And it's going to result in the check amount. You scroll down to the next page, it'll show you the detail. So this is basically trade by trade. You got a trade date, a client account number, a client name, buy, sell, product, gross commission amount. If it was smooth, it would show you a different amount. In this case, I didn't smooth it, so it's all going to be listed as the same. And by the way, if you decide you're never going to use that smooth feature, we can take that off. So it wouldn't even be on this there. Ticket charge if there was one, and then a net amount on that transaction. It's also going to show the advisor's payout. As you scroll down, like for instance, Don, if you have multiple rep numbers and you designate one of them as what we refer to as the main rep number, you'll have one statement generated, but each rep number is going to be shown on here in a different section.
Okay.
Now, you can also have it if you want to generate two different statements, one for each number, you can do it that way too. So after each number, there's going to be a subtotal of gross, ticket charges, and net amount, and there's going to be a grand total. As you continue through the statement, the next section are the adjustments. So these are the swim fee charges that were generated. And there'll be a total. And then as you go down to the next section, this is the detail. Same thing, it's the swim admin fees, but this is going to show you a lot more detail. in addition to showing you the amount, like it showed you before in the description, it's going to show you who the client is, the principal amount that it was generated on, the fee percentage that the fee was used to basically calculate the fee. And there'll be a total, and the total of this is going to match the adjustments. Now, when you do it's time to pay your advisors and you run the final processing function, it'll generate the same statement, but it will add a year-to-date product type.
Okay.
So put it in there. All right. Just reminded me of something. One of the other things you need to do, and I'm going to send you a sheet that basically says these are the first steps you need to take and the first things you need to do. And you're going to have to set up your branches, set up your reps, and you're going to have to set up the SWM fee on each rep, which is in the third section. And by the way, there are function keys. The only thing I would tell you when you go into online help, click the section that says function keys. This will tell you how to jump back and forth from different places in the system. So if you're in the order station, you want to go back to the rep station, you hit F1, that kind of thing. When you're in the rep station, there's an F5, F4 key. And as you hit them, it'll take you to different sections. This field right here where it says fee percent, this is where you set up the SWM fee. So when you set up your advisors, you need to put a fee in for each of them first before you import any information. Otherwise, if you import the information, it's not going to know what to calculate the thing on it. If this field's left blank, the assistant is going to assume that the fee percent is 0, and it's not going to calculate a fee.
So that's 8 bips. Is that what that's showing?
This is actually 0.0008. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's literally 8 bips.
Okay. So Karen just
yeah,
said.
And this is how the way you and I have never really sat down and discussed how Stratos does this.
No.
There are a few, and what I probably should do when we're done at first thing in the morning, I'll have to go dig up the sheets we have that have the actual calculations of these fees on them, because they're semi-complex. What they do is they, what they do, this doesn't have any headers in it, but they take the principal amount that was generated on the transaction and they multiply it times this number. Then they divide it by 4, so it's quarterly. And that's basically how the commission's calculated. And again, I'll send you a sheet that shows you the exact calculation. So if we need to I figured that, we're going to need to fine tune this a bit for you guys. I don't know that you're going to do everything exactly the way they do it.
All right.
And we can, get all that set up before you're ready to start paying anybody. I assume what you were planning on doing is running this for a month or 2 as a test before you're actually pumping numbers out or whatever the case. Well, you can get the numbers out, but before you're actually doing ACHs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go through a couple of other different things in here. The product station. There is a series of products set up in here, mostly mutual funds. There's actually a database of products in here. Now, for you guys, I have to look and see. Yeah, okay, hold on here. There's a series of products in here, and this will tell you, I just typed in, when you're searching, by the way, if you click this down, it'll tell you your options. You can search by QSIP, a description, sponsor, symbol. If you just use description, you put in a partial, it'll take whatever you did and pull anything that's got, that begins with that, and then list them all in here. If you click on the transaction, the product itself, it'll give you all the information on the product. Now, most of this stuff's going to be imported automatically from LPL, so there's very rarely where you're ever going to have to go in here and do anything. The reason we have a database in here, a lot of our competitors don't do this, is years ago, FINRA walked into a few of our clients and said, hey, we want to see all the C shares you did from this state to this state. Well, without a breakdown like this, you basically can't generate that information. So there's different information on here. It's going to show you whether it's a fund, description of the product, the CUSIP, the symbol, who the sponsor is, what type of load structure is available, whether it's an A, B, C, that kind of shit. Again, you're not really going to use this much or spend much time in here. I'm just basically showing you what it is. Also, if you wanted to get information as far as what you've done year to date in a particular product, you can look up the product, click on this year to date totals tab. If you click on the sponsor year to date totals, this will tell you, and this is probably more relevant, this will tell you what you did with Putnam as a whole, or Oppenheimer, or American Funds, or whoever you're dealing with. So if you want to track what you're doing with each one, you can go in here and do it quickly, or there's several reports in here that you can generate and have that information also. Okay, client information, lightning bolts, the client station. By the way, if you hover your mouse over these, it'll tell you what they are. When you go in here, the search window is going to pop up. It's assuming you want to look for something. Well, I'll show you here in a minute. Let's do it. Somebody usually always has a Smith. If you put in a partial short name, in other words, by me putting in Smith, it's looking for exactly for Smith. So if you put in a partial like this, if you go down here and you click this wildcard search, this will basically tell the system, I want everything that starts with Smith. Still not. Okay. What is your rep number, Don?
MF7F.
If you search by rep number, it'll pull all the clients. And that's probably all that's in here at this point. I think you're the only rep number we've got set up.
Yep.
So you can do it that way also. And again, you've got the same capabilities to save this if you want to. What I didn't show you in the order station, but it exists there and here. If you click on these tabs, it'll resort alphabetically or by social or, by mail-in versus clearing or whatever the case may be. So you can kind of go in here and, look around at things if you want to do that. But again, most of this information is going to be imported automatically. So it's fairly rare that you're going to need to go in here. Let me ask you something. Do you have, Stratos has something called Swim, they call Swim G feeds.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm not going to explain it. They have a secondary type of fee besides the Swim admin fee that they charge. And that has to be set up in here. But if you guys don't use it, let's not even discuss it. All right. Again, like the other one, if you want more information, you can either double click on this or hit select. It'll take you to the order screen for the client itself. Now, this is a limitation of the sheet that they send. All we're basically going to have is a name. I don't think they send address in here.
No.
Now, if you can get a sheet that has the address on it, we can reprogram this thing to use that sheet. It's entirely up to you. Right now, this is actually the same thing with Stratos. They get exactly what you're looking at. It's basically just got the client's name. The advantage of having the addresses is just, you just got a record. I mean, it's entirely up to you. We can leave it the way it is now, or like I said, if you can get them LPL to provide you, or if they have a sheet that's got the address information in it, we can write some kind of an import feature to drag that stuff in here. So, as you click through these tabs, this is basic name and address information, the account class, and we're pulling this from the sheet. So if this was an individual account, it would list that. This is I guess a SAM account. Who the rep is, what the short name on the account is, socials, open dates. That's pretty much all that's going to be in here. If you go to these other tabs, you can certainly use all this information on here. If you want to set up annual income, net worth, that's all available. And again, you've got these fields in red, so you can go in here and change these or Actually, if you don't want this, we probably have to get rid of this for you the first time around. But you can set up any kind of annual income, net worth, experience structure that you want. The only issue is we can't automatically import this unless they've got some kind of, again, if they have some kind of sheet available where they have this information. All we basically need is a client account number. If we've got this number up here, and it basically tells the income, net worth, and addresses and all that kind of stuff, we can use that to write a different type of import and pull all that stuff in here if you want to do that. Papers, this would be anything, if there was a margin account or an option account, it allows you to add that kind of stuff in here. Payouts and tiered schedule. I don't know if you'll ever use this, but I'll explain what it is. In the rep section, you've got where you set up the payouts. Straight payout of X percent, overrides, or whatever the case may be, or you can vary the payouts by product. Tiered schedule is basically a payout grid. So if you wanted to set somebody up on a 0 to 50,000, 50,000 to 100,000, that type of thing, and then step stair the payouts higher as they go, we can do that also. You also have the ability to use this on a client account. So if you have a scenario where you're paying an advisor, let's say 80% across the board, but for whatever reason you decide for this particular account or a handful of accounts you want to pay them more or less than the normal rate, you can set it up in here to do that. Managed accounts, fee accounts, this is basically going to track, I think all of your accounts can be listed as advisory accounts to begin with. But for a normal client, this would designate whether it's advisory or non-advisory. There are some notes fields in both this and the rep station. Again, it looks like it's blank or you're on something that doesn't do anything. When you see it all gray like this, hit new. You can type notes in if you want. Hit save, and it'll keep a chronological order as you go along, and you can pull a report later that will show all the information in it. Orders by account, if you put in a date, I'm sure I picked an account that's got nothing in it. Let's try it. Got lucky. If you pick an account, you put in a trade date here, this is basically going to pull anything equal to that date or after that date. So there's kind of a quick way. In the order station, you can also search by account number. This is probably the best place to do it, quite frankly, because this is where all the data resides. But if you wanted a quick way of getting there, you can basically do this. Look at it this way. Positions, balances, and summary is going to be blank because there isn't any kind of a file from LPL at this point, anyways, that has this information in it. It's my understanding initially when we set all this stuff up with Stratos a while back, that LPL is going to come out with their own set of files. But the files were going to include things like, I think the brokerage business might not even, I don't even know if they do anything with them on the brokerage side. But in any event, if they ever came out with something like that, we'd be able to pull positions, balance history, and all that kind of stuff in each account. Scan documents, this is a tab that allows you, and we had a client request this. I'm still not 100% sure how useful it is, but some people like it, some people don't. What this allows you to do is basically take a document that you've got on your PC or in your network, and tag it to an account in here. So if I wanted to go, I'm sure this is not going to work because I don't have this folder set up. I'd basically have to set a folder up with this account number in it. And there'd be a document inside the folder. And when you do that, I'm going to do it here. When you do that, you'd be able to pull the document. So if you've got a PDF document or a Word document or something like that, and you link it to this account, you hit view, it's just going to pull the document up as if you double clicked on it on your PC to do it. Okay, I'm going to skip over a couple of these things. Mail-ins. We didn't really discuss this either. I know that Stratos has some of this. Are there any transactions actually, I think Karen mentioned this when I was out there. You're going to have some transactions you may have to manually enter on occasion.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. This is where you do it. So you go into the mail-in station, close the search window, unless you're looking for something. By the way, I mentioned this before, whenever you're in any of these sections and you go into the detail, like if we were over here in the client station, I'm sorry, MS7F,
MS7F, yes.
if I'm over here looking at an account, I want to get back to the search. This works the same way in all of these. You go up here where this little flashlight is,
Mm-hmm.
click it, and the window will pop back up. So as you click on something, the window is going to basically go away. If you want it back, just click that. All right, so when you're ready to enter a transaction, manually, click on mail-ins, close the search window, hit new, and it'll open up the fields. You go up here, I think we've only got one product set up for the moment. You select the payout category, you're normally going to have multiple ones listed. Or actually what we'll have to do is determine what the manual transactions you're going to do. Are they mostly advisors paying you something, like an asset manager or something like that?
Financial planning fees.
Okay.
But I do
We'll
have
to,
a question for you. We're going to be getting, and I'm sure Jenny will say they have this also, but feeds from like SCI and Genworth and people like that. How do we deal with those?
Okay. Are they going to have files that they can send you, or?
I hope so.
Yeah, if they have files, we'll need to write an interface. We've written an interface for SCI and Genworth already. The problem is, what we found is, depends on who it is. Schwab's notorious for this because they've got about 9 different sets of files. I'm working right now with Stratos on getting some Schwab data input. I'm going to go out and tell them which files to get. Because if I leave it up to Schwab, they're going to send a different set of files than what we normally use. So to answer your question, yes, we'll have to write an import for them, which is not really a terrible big deal. If you tell me you want, Genworth, what I'm going to basically go back to you and say is, okay, go ask them for these files.
Okay.
We've already written an interface and we know it works. If we get one we haven't written or something like that, what I'll basically say is have them send you the files and we'll work backwards and do it that way. All right, so basically you go into here, if this was financial planning fees, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up some different payout categories, like financial planning fees, all the different breakdowns that you're going to need. What you can do in the meantime, if you would, is send me an email and give me a list of the different types of products that you would want to have in here that you have to manually enter. So financial planning fees, there's a generic asset management in here, but if you want something more specific, we can do that. And then from here, you pick a product. Principal is up to you if you want to put it in here or not. It's not required. You input the commission amount. You basically go down here and select the rep. Once you select the rep, as soon as you input a rep into the system, it's going to automatically default, and it's going to create a dummy client account that's called direct. The reason for this direct account is when our clients are sitting down and putting trails, like from a trail statement or something like that, where it's got a zillion of them on there. Instead of inputting 23 cents, 14 cents, and all that kind of thing, they lump by rep. So what they do is they use this dummy client account. If I picked Don's number, it's going to actually default to the client accounts that he's got in the system already. Select the short name of the client that you want. I assume normally what you're going to be doing is inputting something today that maybe is a week or two old or something. I don't know how you do it, but you can change these dates by just overtyping it. So if you wanted to input this as of last month, overtype the date, trade date, click on the settlement date, it'll default to the same thing. Check receive date is basically going to be when you receive the check, which is probably what I think you're going to be doing, I guess. When you get the checks, you're going to be inputting the transactions. This mark pay date is important. This date is going to determine, like when we imported that commission sheet, you had to put a date in there to tell it when to put the trades. This is telling the system what commission period to put it in. So regardless of the dates you've got over here, I mean, if you input something from January, but you want to pay it in February, whatever date you put in here is what this is going to use to go up and look at these commission periods over here. So whatever date you input as a marked pay date, that tells the system where to pay it, what period it belongs in. When you're done, go up and hit save, and that's it. Transaction's in there. Whenever you input a transaction like this, and I wouldn't, when you input a transaction, you need to run the daily processing function afterwards that we did before. You don't need to run it after each transaction. Input all the trades you got to input for the day or whatever the case may be. And for that matter, if you don't need to have the data, readily available to look at right away, if you want to input a week's worth of trades, you can do it. But when you're done, go run the processing one time. And again, the information I'm going to send you will have all this in here. It'll basically tell you to go and put a mail in, this is what you do, or you go up here to online help, stations, orders, new mail in. This will basically tell you step by step what you're doing. Okay. So that's it for a manual trade. Adjustments. This is where you can now, any type of ticket charge that's picked up in the commission sheets is going to be listed over in the order station. Any type of adjustment that's listed in those sheets is going to be listed in here in addition to the swing fees. So when you go up here, you're going to see all these adjustment codes listed. Some of these may or may not be relevant for you guys. As a matter of fact, we obviously just copied the code over because we have their name in some of the stuff, which we probably need to change. Swim fees, other types of things, and I want to show you in a couple of minutes where you can look at this, and then one of the things I want you to do is kind of look through these and decide what kind of adjustments that you may have or you may use. So the ones that are going to come from LPL will automatically be in here. If you wanted to go in here and create an adjustment yourself, you've got the ability to do that. Close the search window. There's 3 different types of adjustments: current, reoccurring, and dynamic. Current is a one-off, so something you're going to do one time. Reoccurring is what it sounds like. It's going to happen over and over again. Dynamic is something that's going to have a start date and an end date. So it starts in this commission period and ends in this commission period. You want to input an adjustment, go up to New. Select the rep. What kind of adjustment it is. Now, all these, and this is one thing I want one of you guys to look at. When you go in here to the adjustment station and you hit New, where this says Adjust Code, hit that Control-L feature. These are all the adjustments that we have set up at this point. You can go through this list, and I think with the exception of advanced commission and commissions generated, you need to leave these alone because these are system-oriented. Matter of fact, if you try to get rid of this, I don't think it'll let you. Yeah, it'll tell you can't do it. Anything like this, if you had something in there like this and you don't need it, and you wanted to hit delete, it'll delete it. Anytime you try and delete something in the system, you'll get at least one prompt. It'll say, do you want to delete this? And then you hit yes or no. If you try to delete a trade or a rep, it's going to give you 2 or 3 prompts saying, do you want to do this? And you really want to do this type thing so that there can't be errors. Once all these are set up correctly or set up the way you want, you basically just select from the list. So as you're going through here, you select what you want this to be. You input as a negative if you want to take money away from reps commissions. You input it as a positive if you want to add money back. You tell it what commission period you want to do it in. Anything you input in the notes field will show up on the commission statement. So when you get to the section of the commission statement where it shows adjustments, you can give like a secondary explanation if you wanted to do that. You can also have one rep pay for another rep if you want. I guess some of our clients want that to happen, so that's why we have it. You hit save, and the adjustment's in there at that point. Now, until daily processing is run, it's basically just going to sit in there. You have to run the processing to get it to go further. Reoccurring adjustment is something that's going to happen over and over again. Again, there's a paid for rep in here. So if the rep's being charged to himself, just use the same one each time. Select what the adjustment is, put an amount in, and then you tell the system how often you want it to happen. Now, your pay periods, I believe, are set up twice a month. Yeah. So for you, every period is going to be twice a month. You can tell it to happen once a year, once a month, once a quarter, whatever the case may be. So if I pick annual, I tell it to start in this month. From this point forward, it'll go in and clip $100 from my rep number every year until you go in here and get rid of this. A dynamic adjustment is basically something that you want to do, and you want it to start at a certain point and end at a certain point. Tell it to start in this period, end in that period. So for those 4 commission periods, it's going to go in there and clip my commissions $20. Okay. Reports. There are about 150 what we refer to as standard reports in here, which basically means you go in, you click on something, and the report will pop up. So if you go in the rep section, they're broken out the same way the system is. So it's rep, product, client, that kind of thing. And you click on standard, very simple, basic report, OSJ rep list. You hit create report. It's going to show who the OSJ manager is and all those reps assigned to them. Once you're in any of these reports, you've got that same Save As function available. If you go to File, Save As, I can't imagine using anything except Excel with headers or PDF. I mean, there's a zillion of them listed, but that's just the way the software works. Too much junk on my computer. That was the first one. I don't even know where I saved it, but you get the drift. So you've got the ability to save any of these reports as PDF or Excel headers if you want to do that. Different type of report would be like a production report. You drop down here. Well, let's try this first. Registration. If you click on this, this will show you any reps that are set up with exams. I think right now we don't have any exams or states set up. It's just going to grab whatever's data is in the sheet automatically. If you click on rep state registration, this will which would show you any states they're licensed in. This would show you basically the state and everybody licensed in the state, that kind of thing. Basic production reports, you've got them by rep or by branch. Different types, if you click on this one, it's going to pull by commission period. You're going to start and an end period. Real simple, rep number, name, gross commission amount, net amount, any ticket charges, that's it. Different type of report, gives more detail. This breaks it out by product. This is date report. Okay, whenever you see commission year, you're just inputting the year, so the last 2 digits of the year. Different type of report. So you can kind of go through here, just click on some of these, play with them, take a look around. If you see a report in here that's not quite what you want, let us know. There's an ad hoc report writing feature in here. Quite frankly, it's not very simple to use. I mean, if you've got a SQL background, you can figure it out. But it's the easiest thing to do is if you see a report in here and it's not exactly what you want, or you're curious if there is that type of report in here, shoot us an email, tell us what you want, We'll either go back to you and say, here's what you're looking for, go use this, or we'll create a report for you. If we create an ad hoc report for you, it's going to be something that looks like this. We would literally send you an email with an attachment, and it would be the report, and we'll explain to you how to use it. But you basically go in here, and these will attach to your database on any of your PCs. You can go in here, you click it, it'll pull all the data, whatever report we generated for you. And there's a folder we'll have you set up. Actually, we'll set it up for you. We'll have all those reports in. Okay, a few different samples of reports. Orders, there are trade blotters in here. So if you wanted to go in here and see a breakdown of, trade by trade, this is something that could be used to, for compliance purposes. There's other reports we've generated in here way back when it was called the NASD. I used to work there. So a lot of the stuff we've designed in here is geared towards when somebody waltzes in your office at some point and takes a look and they ask for certain types of things. Some of these reports are generated to where you can pull it, fairly quickly. This is a blotter by fund family, so you can go in here, all the fund sponsors are listed. When you see a list like this, if you type, it'll take you to where you want to go. You can put a date range, hit create report, it's going to pull the information. Trade blotter by product type, if you wanted to go in here and see just asset management trades for a certain date range. This will pull that. So what I would encourage you to do is kind of go through this reports menu, just click on stuff. And you put data. I mean, right now you don't have any data in here. So I take it back. Until we import the first sheet, there's really not going to be a whole lot to look at. Which brings me to my next question. How far back do you want to go on this? We can literally go back and import data for as long as you can get it. I don't know if you want to start in January, if you want to go back further. All you're going to need to do is provide us with these sheets.
Okay. I'll think about it. I don't know there's any value to that. It might be good to start in January, but I'll think about that, Chris.
Okay, no problem. And by the way, if you wanted to, I'll throw this out. If you wanted to, I don't know, let's say you want to go back and balance a couple months, first. If you wanted to go back to November, December, something like that, we could do that. We could then go, and then we could go wipe that data out.
Okay.
For November, December, if you want to start in January. So you're pretty flexible. You can more or less do whatever you want to do. Just let us know when the time comes. Okay. There is a company directory in here. This is going to be set up automatically. This, I believe, is, this is this. When you open the system, this is what's going to be listed up here. You can set up employees if you want, personal information, that kind of thing. I haven't shown you every single feature in here, but I've probably shown you more than you needed to see so far, and more than you're going to use right away. Let's put it that way. This is not going to be the last one of these things. Doesn't mean that every one of you needs to sit in here for an hour or two again. I wanted to spend a fair amount of time the first time around. It's actually gone a lot faster than I thought it would. So everybody would get the drift of how this works and what needs to be done. Next steps are going to be set up your branches, set up your reps. I can help you with that. We can either do it where, I do it online, or I can literally come out there for a couple hours, sit in somebody's lap and show you how to do it. And then once that stuff's in here, and Don, you decide how far back you want to go, we need to go back and get the LPL sheets, commission data for as far back as you want to go. We'll import that, and then you'll have stuff in here to look at and play around with. Because right now, you can sort of play around with the system, but there's not anything in it. I mean, outside of having a couple reps in here, when you go on your version on your desktop, you're not going to have trades in here because we haven't imported anything yet.
Okay.
Not knowing when you want to start. And like I said, if you want to play around with it or something like that, I can go into the server, import the sheet that I've got, which is, I think, back from October, just so you've got stuff to look at, and then when the time comes, I can wipe it out. I'll leave that up.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys think about it and leave it up to you. Okay, that was a pretty quick crash course. Like I said, I'm going to send you detailed sheets that say, you know, this is how you import the accounts, this is how you import the trades, this is how you set up a rep, this is the order that you do stuff in. When it comes time to pay everybody, this is how you run processing, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you know, we're a phone call away or an email away. So just because I'm sending everything doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you, sir. Questions? I've thrown a lot of stuff at you.
Let's see. I don't have any right now. That was a good overview, and I think I might have you throw that October data in.
Okay. You want me to just go ahead and do it?
Sure.
All right. I'll import it this evening after hours. And whenever the time, we can leave it in there as long as, you know, needed, and then when the time comes, you let us know, we'll go in there and wipe it out.
Okay.
Okay, the one thing that I do need to do, I'm going to send Karen and Laura an email because on their machines they've got this import processing, and we've since, I think we ran into, Karen, you remember the problems we had installing on your PC?
Yes,
Yeah, we finally got it to work, but we had to change one of these. So there's a new one out there. I'm going to send you an email. I'll tell you, you know, go out on your server on the P drive, this folder. This is where it is. You're going to see like a file. All you're going to do is download it to your desktop, double click on it, let it run to the default, just hit next, 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 and it'll finish.
Okay.
So I'll shoot you an email and copy everybody on that and basically tell you what to do. Don doesn't need to do it because he doesn't have it on his machine. Other than that, you guys tell me when you're ready to start with the branches and reps, and we can do another one of these, or I'll arrange to come out there.
Okay, Chris, I just have, I have four icons on my desktop. So you are working from the import, the database, and the SPS processing, nothing
Right.
from the, okay.
You
so
probably have another one that says Database Genius.
Yes,
Okay, you can delete that from your desktop. Just right click on the icon, hit delete. It's used to open these ad hoc reports that I showed you a minute ago. You don't need it on your desktop. I probably left it there by mistake. So you should basically have three you're going to work with. You're going to have this SPS process, or SPS securities processing rather, which is the front end. Import the process. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, and like I said, you guys tell me. I'll go ahead and put the October data out there. I'll email you when it's there. And after that, you tell me when you want to input the branches